Hi everyone, I'm Angela and welcome to Crafting with Angela. Today I will be showing you how to make a background using leftover paper scraps. So everyone has strips like this, different sizes, different thicknesses. These are the bits that are left over when you cut down patterned paper to cut it to size for a project. And what I do is I always keep these pieces because they can be really easily turned into a background and make a card with it. So what I have is I have a 6-inch square card base here, and what I have done is I have cut a piece of white, fairly thin card, and I've cut it at 5 3/4 inches, just to give a 1/4 inch border the whole way around. And I'm going to use that to create my background. As well as that, I am going to need some glue, so I am going to be using glue stick because this is only paper on paper, so I'll use some glue stick. I also am going to have a stamp set, so I have this stamp set. It's Crafters Companion Cosmic Collection, Reach for the Stars, and I'm going to be using one of these stamps for the sentiment. And I have a piece of the spare white card that we used for the background piece. I'm going to be using that for the sentiment. So because I'm stamping, I'll need an acrylic block and some ink. But let's get to making the card itself. Because I'm going to be using glue stick, I really like to have a glue mat. It just helps keep the glue from sticking onto my desk and keeps things that bit neater. Okay, so what I am going to do here is I'm going to come in with my glue stick and I'm going to stick glue stick all over the background. Okay, this means if there's any gaps or anything, we can come in with glitter or something like that to fill in any gaps so it won't look quite so obvious. So I'm just coming in, good layer of glue stick over the entire background piece. You could use double-sided tape for this. If you have larger pieces, you could cut one down. If you have inch thick tape, you could use it and just cut multiple strips of it out. And all I'm going to do now is come in with the individual pieces of card and stick them down. I am going to get my bone folder just to make sure that I can run over each piece and get a good piece, so a good fixture with the glue. Sometimes you will see these run off slightly, and that's just either I haven't stuck them down straight, or the card pieces when they were cut weren't exactly perfectly straight. You could, if you wanted, take your time and go through this personally. The point behind this to me is to have it be a quick process without spending too much time thinking about it. I did want this to match to a certain extent, so what I have done is I have gone through my different paper pieces and I've pulled out ones that are the greens, the blues, and some glitter and mirror cardstocks, just so we can have a nice look at what we're sticking down. There also are different thicknesses, and some of the papers are double-sided, so I'm just going through and putting what feels right where. I'll work on the other side now. And you might have to come in every so often and just make sure that the glue is still wet. Glue stick does have a tendency to dry relatively quickly, so I just like to make sure every so often that the area I'm working on is still freshly wet. Sometimes when I do this, I decide whether I want to do double pieces, you know, have multiples of the same colour, same type down. Very much just depends on what I want, what papers I have at that time. But in this pattern, I don't mind if there's any duplication. Nope, that's not holding down. So that's a prime example of coming in and making sure there is more glue stick on this part of it. Okay. Maybe come in with a small piece of the green there. Again, we're looking at the double-sided pieces. So I've tried to do these with different thicknesses just because I think that adds to the appeal of the background. Getting all stuck on myself here. A piece of gold mark card down there. Put a piece of this. Oops. We're almost there. Piece of the thicker blue glitter card there. Maybe a piece of the silver mirror. So I've chosen blues and greens for this just because it happened to work with what I had on hand. I have in the past just made these with all the scraps that I have without thinking too much about it. I think that's the secret to it. You don't want to be spending hours thinking about, oh, what does this paper go with, what happens here. You just want to be coming in and sticking it down. I've now got to that awkward stage where the pieces that are left are, you know, if we'd a thicker piece in there, it would take that corner up, but I think this piece, oh, actually it might work, but I'm just going to cut it down a bit. So I'm just going to come in here like this and cut a couple of pieces of this down because we don't need it to be, since it's only flat and square, we don't need it to be the whole piece. Back again here. And then just come in with the bone folder and we're just running it over all of the background. This is a really quick and simple way to make a background. Put the glue back on my go. Okay, I'm just going to come in with my cookie tool there to help pick this up. As you can see, there's been some glue on that I haven't realised. there we go. All we want to do now is ideally leave that to dry for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come in and trim it down. So what I'm going to do is just find a couple of Perspex blocks to weight it down and give it a moment to dry. I'll be back. Okay, so I have left this to dry for about 20 minutes. All I'm going to do now is come in again with the cookie toe just to lift it up. That's just so I don't accidentally pull up any of the pieces. Come in with my scissors. You could come in with a cutting tool, a cup. You could come in with a caterpillar or something like that. That works just as well. But I like having the control a pair of scissors gives me. Also, because you're cutting through different thicknesses of card and paper, it can feel a bit strange when you cut this through, but that's okay. As long as you're aware of it, that's the main thing. I'm just trimming this all down. Okay. What I'm going to do now I'm going to put all those scraps into a box. And what I'll do then is go through them and find the pieces that are long enough like these that could be used for something else, or throw out the bits that are too small to be used for anything. Keep that to the side. Because we put the glue on the base rather than the card, that means those pieces of card that are in that box won't stick to anything. And there we go, that is our background made. Okay, that's nice. I am wondering if I want to put a piece of cardstock. Let's see, what have I got? This thin piece, or this small piece of silver card. I'm just trying to work out if I did that and then had that sticking on the card, I think that would look really good. So I'm going to have to trim this down a bit because obviously I cut this down to the right size for this part. So I'm going to take about 1/4 of an inch of each size of this and then cut this down to the same size that we have this. Okay, so there's my card base. I have cut the piece of silver mirror card down to 5 3/4 inches, so that gives us a thin board the whole way around. Then I came in and cut this down 1/4 of an inch all round, but I deliberately went round it and took it off each of the 4 sides so that it fits really nicely on that. Sorry, so that each side is even rather than just taking it off the 2 sides. I'm going to come in with my ATG here. Another piece of 60, that was quite close. And then I'm going to come in and line this up and just see a bit of that ATG over the edge. There we go, that's it nicely lined up. I think that just adds an extra layer to it. And now I am going to put some tape on the back here. When I'm putting ATG tape down, I like to make sure I go in both directions, just so that it doesn't have any room to pull up. And again, some of that ATG tape went over the edges, so I'm just going to make sure that's sitting in the right place. Double check which way the card opens, and then I like that grip going like that, but you can have it sit out whichever way you want it to. And there we go. That looks really good with the mirror border around it. I possibly could have cut it even thinner. I think a thinner layer would have been good there, but equally I like that. And I've got this stump set, and I have a scrap piece of card that I'm going to stamp onto. When I'm stamping, I always like to have a piece of fun foam behind it, just so I know I'm getting a good impression from the stamp. Here's the different stamps. So, I love you to the moon and back, reach for the stars, you're a superstar, make a wish. Let me see. Is that make a wish the right size for my stamp? I think it is. We're going to try that anyway. I'll use that make a wish one. And I think when I do the make a wish, I'll probably put your superstar on the inside of the card, because I think that would work well. So again, just getting an acrylic block. Let's see, what colour ink do we think would look nice on this? A teal maybe? Okay, I have Teal Zeal from Momento. And I'm just going to stamp that on here. And I want to stamp it twice just to make sure, because I'm going to try and use the punch to stamp it out. And when I do that, I always like to make sure I have a second, just in case I make a mess of the first one, which, to be honest, I do quite often. I'll scrap a card there. Okay. When I'm using a punch like this, I like to come in and open the base so I can actually see where the punch is lining up. If you don't have a circle punch that will work like that, this is a 1 7/16 inch punch, or 3.7 centimeters. I think it's supposed to be 1.5 inches, but when I measured the circle, it wasn't quite 1.5 inches. If you don't have that, you could always have a square or a rectangular stamp and then just come in and cut it down with scissors. Or with a pattern like this where you have the circle around there, you could come in and stamp it down anyway. Cut around where the line is. And all I'm going to do now is come around the edge here. And that's because there is a slight white area around on some of the card between where the circle stamp went and where I cut out just slightly off. So going around with the ink like that will just allow that to not be noticeable. And then I'm going to come in with the Your Superstar. No, change of plan. I am going to come in with the other stamp now that says Shoot for the Moon. Even if you miss it, you'll land amongst the stars. And that kind of goes with Make a Wish. I think that kind of goes nicely. So again, coming in with the Teal Zeal. Making sure it's nicely inked up. was just taking a bit of time to make sure I'm holding it in place, not with too much pressure, but just enough to make sure that there was time for the ink to transfer over. So that's the stamping done. What I am going to do now, I'm going to come in. Remember I kept this box of scraps that I had. You know me, when I have a card I like to decorate the inside of the card and the envelope. So I have the envelope here just to make sure they all match. So let me take this stamp mat away and look at a couple of these scraps here. We don't need a lot of them. One what I could do, this was one of the offcuts actually from when I trimmed it down. Doesn't quite, but they're obviously for the size. Or part of me likes the idea of keeping the diagonal going. Obviously that's in a different direction, but you know, a couple of pieces diagonally here. Let me see. Or even, because these won't fit that way because they were never cut to the same size of the card, but yeah, I'm going to do that. So this is, I have a couple of, remember I said I cut them down. When I cut them down, I just kept those pieces, and I'm just going to come in here with the glue stick, put a drop of glue, bringing in my glue mat as well, and glue stick. Okay. I don't mind if it doesn't fully fit across there. It's more about tying it in with the front of the card. And then exactly the same thing on the envelope. And what I like to do with the envelope is open it up so I know what way the envelope goes. And then I'm going to look at these last couple of pieces here. Two bigger pieces and two thinner pieces. So I'm just going to do exactly the same as I did for the inside of the card. Just come along, put a glue stick down there. There we go. So there we have the envelope and the card. The inside of the card is done. Put those scraps away again. I think it needs something behind it, but I think not the long strip. Going to show you a trick for when, if you don't have a bigger hole, circular hole punch. Just going to come in here and stamp out a circle exactly the same size, so exactly using the same hole punch. And then what you want to do is come in with your scissors and cut it in half. This is not going to be a perfect outline as such, but it will give you what you are looking for. So there's my circle, and all we want to do is just put this on and have it stick out slightly on each side. Okay, so let me just come in glue mat. I can't lift this up. And with the other bit. Okay, so when you see it from the back, you can tell that there's a piece missing, but when you look at it from the front, what it does is it highlights it in the way we wanted it highlighted. Just doesn't go all the way, it makes it more of an oval shape, but it does help it stand out from that base. I do want to come in with some squares, and before I stick them down, I'm just going to make sure I've rubbed that with my bone folder, make sure there's good adherence there, and come in with a good couple of squares underneath here. With the pokey toe, some of these have already started coming off, that's fine. I'm actually going to put it down in the bottom corner, so it's giving it a bit of dimension there. And then I think, just to finish this card off, I am going to come in with some diamantes. That won't be quite so in a line, and I have a couple of them in different sizes here, so the larger and the smaller ones. And there we go. Really quick, really simple card. I hope you've enjoyed making it.